Hello and welcome. I'm Dave with ISG. Today I will be covering some of the fundamental elements of third-party risk management using the GovernX platform. In order to have a robust third-party risk management program, you need to consider the following components. Your program needs to be comprehensive. It needs to provide you with information regarding every third-party relationship, including the type of risk and the level of risk that relationship is bringing into the organization. It needs to be commensurate, enabling a risk-based approach. Based on the type of risk and the level of risk, you should be able to apply the right level of resources that's necessary to effectively manage the risk with that relationship. Third-party risk management requires that certain activities be performed at certain points of time in the life of that relationship. Your program should ensure that these activities are being performed by the right resources at the right time during the relationship life cycle. Third-party risk also requires the use or involvement of many resources from different departments. This could include business, procurement, vendor management, enterprise risk management, or even specialists such as info security subject matter experts. Your program needs to ensure that these resources are orchestrated, clear roles and responsibilities are defined, and for it to work effectively and efficiently, it requires the appropriate level of executive support. Finally, third-party risk management involves the use of a lot of data to ensure that the right decisions can be made on behalf of the organization. This requires the use of information technology to bring this data together, to manage it, to ensure that it's available to the right subject matter experts at the right time to make informed decisions. Okay, I'm in the GovernX platform, and I'm at a dashboard that provides me with visibility into my third-party relationships and allows me to look at the risk that each one of these relationships is bringing into the organization. In my demo environment, I'm looking at 35 relationships. In a more realistic scenario, this number would typically be much higher. It could either be 350 or 3,500 or even larger. But the principle is the same. I need a place to go where I can look at all of my third-party relationships and understand the risk that each of those relationships is bringing into the organization. When I look at this dashboard, it would show me of the 35 relationships that 20 of those relationships really have a low level of inherent risk. And these are probably relationships where the supplier doesn't have access to my data, my systems. They're probably not critical to the operations. So if they failed, it probably would not impact my business very much. And they probably don't have access to my end customers. And what this allows me to do is focus my risk resources on the relationships that are bringing in more risk into the organization. And not only can I view the risk by the overall inherent risk, but I can look at each of these relationships by risk domain. So if I'm a CISO, I may be most interested in looking at the supplier relationships that are bringing in high levels of information security risk. And also for each of these relationships, I can drill down into additional information that's needed to support me in making the right decisions with regards to risk about each of those relationships. And in this fundamental overview session, I will just cover some of these elements, and in future sessions, I'll go into details into some of these areas. I will go ahead and just zoom out a little bit to make it easier to see some of the information that is in here. And you can see that I have a lot of attribute information to help me understand the relationship a little bit better. And in some of these tabs, information about the services, risk profile, and that can be from external sources as well, such as some of these cyber intelligence services or financial health rating services. We do have places where we can capture, store, and utilize that information about the commercial aspects of the relationship in the organization. Who are the resources that I need to know on the supplier side or internally that are managing that supplier? On the bottom, I have access to the contract documents themselves, which are very important in managing third-party risk, as well as standard terms. And more importantly, where are we not using a standard term? And not only important for me to understand with regards to this relationship, but as I'm capturing the information, I can look across the whole portfolio of suppliers and understand where there might be some deviations to standard clauses and contract terms that could expose me to certain risks. Fourth parties, it's becoming more important to understand the fourth parties or the subcontractors that are being used by our suppliers and the risks that they might be exposing us to. So capturing if it's critical services that's being outsourced to that subcontractor or sensitive data, where's that data being stored? All important elements to be able to manage the risks more appropriately. Same with service delivery locations, understanding the delivery locations, and not only again for this particular supplier, but being able to go ahead and look at that across the entire portfolio of suppliers. So I could look at, for example, a particular city and understand all the suppliers that are delivering services from a particular city and be able to more proactively manage risk if there are going to be any geopolitical activities, any weather-related or natural disaster-related causes that would cause concern, where I can start to get ahead of that and manage that more proactively and effectively. The other areas, assessments are very important to third-party risk management. GovernX, we have very robust capabilities for managing the assessments. I'm going to go into that in more details in a future session, as well as managing the risks that may come out of those assessments. So I hope I gave you some information into fundamentals that are very key in managing third-party risk, and look forward to talking to you in future sessions. Thank you.